morning, friends. Good morning. Welcome to everyone who's braved the cold to be here in our sanctuary this morning. I'm Reverend McKinley Sims. I use he, him pronouns. I'm the minister of this congregation, and we welcome you here, whether you are here in our, I think, pretty cozy sanctuary, given the circumstances, or joining us from hopefully the warmth of your home online. It is good to be together. So friends who are online, if you need closed captions, if you're on Zoom, please press the CC button that's at the bottom of your screen. Friends who are watching us afterwards, let us know how we can support you. But please use the chat function if you're with us so that we can see and hear how you're doing, especially when we do our joys and sorrows today. And then we are doing a special ritual here that is, I think, new for this congregation called Fire Communion. So this is your fire notice and warning that we have lots of different ways to extinguish fires, and we're not going to need any of them today, but we are going to be doing something with this little cauldron here with slips of flash paper that we're going to drop into a small flame. So if anybody's feeling a little nervous about that, just let me know, and we'll make an accommodation. And friends who are online, if you have something that you want to share for the fire communion that we can drop into the fire for you, we will do that. So please make use of that. If this is your first time here, we usually have a few reminders. If you would put your cell phones or anything that might make noise into silent mode or do not disturb, that would be lovely so we can be as present as possible. We have restrooms here in the sanctuary at the rear. Down the stairs to your right, those are the closest bathrooms with a changing station. And then we also have bathrooms out here beyond our family center, down the hall and to the right. Final reminder that we are also live streaming. It's not going everywhere, but it is on Zoom, and we are recording this service. So if that's an issue for anyone who doesn't want to be up here on camera, if you come past the first pews, you're on camera. If you're back there, you're not. All right? Beautiful. Today's service is meant to be an intergenerational service on resilience. Our spiritual theme for February is embodying resilience. So we're going to do both of those things today. We're going to talk about embodiment, using our bodies intentionally and imperfectly, reminding ourselves that we have bodies, we are bodies, and we're meant to use them as part of our being human, and that we are meant to show resiliency, the ability to adapt, to change, to roll with the punches, to walk on the ice, to take a risk and grow in courage and vulnerability. And because we are not the only animals who do this, we're going to learn from some of our other animal siblings today as well. And there will be some embodiment and some penguin talk and maybe some penguin walk for those who are here in person. And friends who are online, I invite you to do that as well, so that we can all join in having a little bit of fun, because God knows we need it today. All right, friends, let's start our morning. Settle in where you are. If you're here in the sanctuary, if your legs are crossed, maybe uncross them. Roll your neck out a little bit. Settle in. Find a nice comfy position. Let's take a nice, easy breath together. Would you breathe in with me? And out. Because it's so cold outside, let's do one more. You breathe in and out. We believe that when we breathe together, we are together, and it is good to be together today. We're going to start this morning with the lighting of our chalice. In Unitarian Universalist congregations, we light a chalice, which is the symbol of our faith, to celebrate our coming together in love, to mark the sacred space and time of community, and to invite spirit into our lives. And we normally ask for RE families to come up and light the chalice, but since we're just getting here, Kathy, would you be willing to light our chalice for us? Yes. I'm going to invite you to read these words with me as we light our chalice here in the sanctuary. And if you're joining us from home, if you want to light a candle, we invite you to do so. We light this chalice with a spirit of resilience and peace. May our community be diverse, adaptive, and courageous. Thank you, Kathy. Lynn Reeser is helping us with music today, along with Janice Rowland and some of our Restoration Singers choir. So we're going to start our musical offerings this morning with a congregational hymn. I invite you to rise in body or in spirit, and we're going to sing number 1011 in the teal hymnal, Return Again. Are we doing this as a round, Nate?
We'll do up to the second line where you see the word soul. We'll do that twice. And then the third line to the fourth line, we'll do that twice.
First part twice, second part twice?
Yeah.
Basically. All right. 10 and 11, Return Again. Thank you. So part of our mission of building beloved community by embracing all souls and nurturing wholeness is to practice vulnerability and resilience almost every week through a ritual that we call joys and sorrows. This invites us to see and be seen, to know and be known, to share what's going on in our lives, and especially the naming of feelings that we're holding, because in white Western industrialized culture, we're not always good about talking about our feelings, remembering that we have bodies and that they're not just forgetting us from place to place, right? That it's part of our lived experience. So this morning we invite you to share in the ritual of joys and sorrows however you feel called. If you're here in the sanctuary and you want to come up by the side aisle, grab a stone from the basket, take a second to let that stone become infused with whatever you need it to be, with a prayer, a hope, a joy or sorrow, something to let go of. I invite you to drop it into the bowl of water that symbolizes our community and how we hold one another in the practice of being human. Friends who are online, if you will use the joys and the chat function to share your joys and sorrows. We should call it the joys and sorrows function of Zoom. That's what we should call it. If you will use the chat function and let us know if you would like your joy or sorrow shared out loud, please do so, and we will drop a stone into the bowl in honor of your wishes. Again, this is how we build community, how we hold one another, and how we share love. We will listen to some music together, and then we'll take a moment of reflection afterwards. If you would just like to sit in your pews and stay there and just be meditative or prayerful for now, that is absolutely fine. I invite you to participate as much as you are called. For those who do wish to come forward, the table of joys and sorrows is open. Good morning. I'm McKinley. I work here. I just want to name that I'm feeling a lot of feelings, I think like a lot of us, a lot of anxiety, a lot of fear, and that's expressed itself as being unable to do some basic functions. So what I've told people today is I'm trying to get through today, and it's going to be what it's going to be. And it is always good to be together, and I always feel better when I'm here. So thank you all for being here, despite the cold and the ice. I appreciate you.
my daughter is working again after 2 years. She started her job, she likes her boss, and she'll get paid next Wednesday.
So my name is Tim, and one of the hats I wear is the treasurer of UU Justice PA. And my joy is that we just finished, actually today's the last day of our annual fundraiser, and we were able to raise $130,000, the most that we've ever raised.
Just putting in stones for extra strength and courage for all the small and large challenges in our lives.
Hi, my name is Jane, and I'm putting in a stone for my cousin Beth, who is in a healing mode with lung cancer, and she's doing pretty well, so thank you.
Good morning. McKinley expressed it well. I think we're all feeling so many of the same feelings, and I've just been feeling that we just we're put through one horror and shock after the other. It's hard for us to kind of settle, and I was thinking about that our country went through the Civil War for 4 years, and of course the Civil Rights time. So we're not new to trauma, and that's why we have to just remember that we have each other, and I think that we will prevail, but it feels very heavy, and I can't wait till this regime is gone.
Hi, my name is Linda. I want to express my gratitude for this community. I'm thinking of one person in particular this week. That's Karen Smith, who I'd like to send out healing energy for her post-surgery recovery time, and gratitude specifically to her because she is a musician, and she suggested to our son, a budding musician, to apply for a city grant that encourages young people to further their careers, and he got a grant. And he's going to spend some of the money on replacing his guitar that got all busted up. So, yeah.
Good morning, I'm Ann. I'm glad to be here, all of us together, and today I'm happy that my son David has joined us.
Good morning, I'm Deb. It's nice to be here to see that some of us showed up in the flesh. Yeah, it's really comforting. I too feel all sorts of feelings, but I also have to say, and I'm not being Pollyannish about this, the level of activism and people's dedication and commitment to getting out there and doing stuff where it's so compelling just to sit on your couch and drink tea and try to not think about it. Some of us were at the city council meeting this week, trying to get we're trying to get the mayor to agree that no ice and my ice needs to be limited and stopped. And it was great to see. There were so many people there. There were really moving testimonies. And the majority of council people are for it. So it's going to happen. Let's just, keep on keeping on. So thank you.
Hi, my name is Jan Cook. Lift the mic. My name is Jan Cook, and I am a member of First Unitarian in Rochester, New York. And it's just wonderful to be here with my friend Pete, who used to be in my meditation classes at the church and has moved to this area. So it's wonderful to share this with you, Pete. I put 2 stones in the water. Jen Crow was my minister and very supportive to me in my journey in Rochester, and she's the minister in Minneapolis. I never can remember if it's St. Paul or Minneapolis, but anyway. And then my cousin was president of the board who brought Jen away from our church to Minneapolis. So they've been very, very busy, and I was able to listen to your sermon from last week, and I just had to be here. So it's just wonderful to be here. Thank you so much.
From our friends online, from Chaplain David Doubledam, who shares gratitude for colleagues who went to the Twin Cities, and gratitude for a husband who goes to spend a week with his mother-in-law to bring joy to her life, and to support sister and brother-in-law so they have a break from caretaking. We've been hearing about it. And from Mary LaValle, gratitude for our dedication to protecting immigrant neighbors, those who are at risk in Minnesota. And from Craig, gratitude for members of the Philly, New York City Solidarity Delegation to Palestine who shared their experience here last week in a very moving and very well-attended program. Beautiful. Okay, we're going to drop one more stone now in for all those joys and sorrows that were not spoken aloud, but nevertheless held in the quiet of our hearts. I invite you to meditate on these words with me, however that feels comfortable for you. May we be as resilient as penguins. May we be as resilient as Mother Nature. May we be as resilient as mothers of all kinds. May we be resilient. And may we be as imperfect or awkward or ashamed or guilty or frustrated or anxious or sad or happy as we have come to be. May we be reminded that we return again and again to who we are here in this beloved community. And may we find the love that is holding all, holding us through it all. May that be so. Amen. Just take one more breath with me. All right. Well, this is our transition to some more of the active parts of the service. For our story for all ages, we often invite our friends of all ages down here to the carpet. So we have a little one who can walk and a little one who can't. So if you would like to come down and sit with me here on the couch, I would love for you to do so. We're going to learn about some fun animals, and then we're going to do some fun movements. All right. I'm going to let you sit for right now, but then I'm going to need your help. Mom, you can sit. It's all good. But any children of all ages who want to move around and use their bodies, I'm going to need you to help. I got to watch a very cool TV show the other day. I don't know if everybody here gets to watch TV or not, but I get to watch TV, and I watched a show about a very fun animal. And I'm going to show you what the animal walks like, and you tell me if you know what the animal is. Okay, you ready? This is how the animals walk. Has anyone ever seen an animal that walks like that? A penguin. That's right. That's right. I watched a movie about Steve the penguin, who lives at the very bottom of the world in a place called Antarctica, where it's very cold and it's covered with ice and it never gets plowed. It's kind of like living here, right? Steve is an Adelie penguin, and he's about this tall. Can you imagine that? Something a little cute that's about that tall, that's learning how to walk. The Adelie penguins who live in Antarctica, they are some of the coolest animals that I've ever heard of, because penguins are so resilient. And they're adaptable. The Adelie penguins, like Steve the penguin, they waddle around, and then sometimes, because everywhere they live is icy, they slip and they fall. But do you think that stops them? No. Then they just wiggle a little bit more, and they slide on their tummies on the ice. That's how they move around. And then when they get to the water, you know what they do? Do you think they get scared and they stay up on land where it's nice and safe? No, they dive right into the water. And that's when they can really move. Because penguins are birds, but they can't fly. But you know what they can do? They can swim. And when you see video of Steve the penguin swimming underwater, he looks like he's flying. And then he jumps out of the water and lands on the ground. And he is so graceful and acrobatic. And then when he gets onto the land, what does he do? He waddles. And penguins don't just waddle by themselves, you know. Penguins live in big groups called colonies. And you know what they do when it gets really, really cold at night? Really, really cold. The penguins huddle together. And they make everyone nice and warm with their waddling. And when the friends and the penguins who are on the outside of the circle, when they get really cold, you know what they do? Their friends in the middle who are nice and warm, they rotate out. And they waddle, 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 waddle. And then they take their turn being on the outside where it's cold. They work together. And it helps everybody survive and thrive. And then we got to see little Steve's baby penguins who pop out of their eggs, and they learn how to be penguins with their family. I learned all about how to be resilient and how to be adaptive and how to brave the cold and the scary waters by watching Steve the penguin. So we're going to learn a little bit more about resilience and embodiment. But here's what I need from you, friends. I need us to stand up, because we're going to head back over to our child space for those who want to. You're going to stay up here today, unless you need to use the bathroom. But we're going to say our closing words, and then we're going to practice waddling as we sing you out. I know, you're all ready. All right? So we're going to learn to be as adaptive and resilient as penguins today. Can we all say together, amen? Amen. And now, we're going to embody resilience and embody penguins like this. Ready? You got to stand up real tall, and you got to stick your feet out, and then stick your flippers out, and then we're going to rock back side and side. All right. We are going to sing you out as we waddle with the words that are on the screen. But don't let me waddle alone, because penguins don't do it alone. They do it together. All right? If you know the words, would you be willing to sing us out as we travel over to our child space? And we're going to embody penguins. Are you ready? Here we go. As you leave this space, brilliant, thank you. It is actually very hard to waddle that much. I'm a little bit out of breath. This is the time in our service when we're going to pass a plate here in the sanctuary and take up our collection for the financial good of this community and our wider community. If this is your first time with us here at UU Mount Airy, there is no expectation you give anything to the plate, but if you would be willing to fill out one of the contact forms that are in the pews and let us know how you found us and how we can support you, that would be amazing. If you do choose to give, your collection goes to two places. Anything that you put into the white envelopes that are in your pews that you can mark change for change, and any pocket change that you put into the plate goes towards a different social justice organization each month. For the month of February, it is Men Who Care Germantown. Friends who are joining us online, you can follow the instructions and you can also select the Change for Change group or the donation plate. So you also have an option to put it into two places. So anything in the white envelopes, any pocket change goes towards this group. Anything else you put into the plate goes towards the operating fund of this congregation. We're going to listen to some music and pass the plate here in the sanctuary. Friends who are online, I invite you to follow those instructions to give as you are willing and able. The offering will now be given and gratefully received. Wonderful. So before we hear from our worship associate, Kathy McCoubry, I want to invite our special musician forward, Janice Rowland. Janice and Linda Hansel were going to play a duet, and Linda was not feeling well this morning. So we're punting on that and making a pivot, as we're all doing these days. So thank you to Janice and Nate and Lynn and all of our musical performers today. who have helped make this comfy space even more so.
Sending love to Linda. Hope you are recovering at home. And you'll hear from us soon. Okay. Don't you know, talking about a revolution sounds like a whisper. Don't you know, talking about a revolution sounds like a whisper. While they're standing in welfare lines, crying in the doorsteps of those armies of salvation, wasting time in the unemployment lines, sitting around waiting for a promotion. Don't you know, talking about a revolution sounds like a whisper. Poor people gonna rise up and take their share. Poor people gonna rise up and take what's theirs. Oh, said you better run, 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 run. Oh, said you better run, 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 run. 'Cause finally the tables are starting to turn, talking about a revolution. And finally the tables are starting to turn, talking about a revolution, oh no. Talking about a revolution, oh, while they're standing in the welfare lines, crying at the doorsteps of those armies of salvation, wasting time in the unemployment lines, sitting around waiting for a promotion. Don't you know, talking about a revolution sounds like a whisper. And finally the tables are starting to turn, talking about a revolution. And finally the tables are starting to turn, talking about a revolution, oh no. Talking about a revolution, oh no. Talking about a revolution, oh no. Thank you.
Thank you both. All right, Kathy McCoubry is our worship associate this morning. I'm going to turn it over to her and get out of the way. And while that is happening, I am going to be passing out pins to the center aisles and around. So just don't mind me while I'm passing out pins. We're all listening to Kathy right now. Kathy, over to you.
Thank you. We're sharing a lot of lyrics this morning. My mic's not on. Oh, Mike, can I have the mic? Can you turn it on here? Okay, here I am. We are in an intensive period of social change and community organizing. Philadelphia's District Attorney, Larry Krasner, is busy organizing DAs around the country. Our Philadelphia City Council is going to bat to prepare Philadelphia for a potential onslaught. And we also need to organize our bodies and souls right here. So we're going to practice saying no today. A lot of times when we think about the resilience, we think about these rhythms of exertion and recuperation. But a lot of times we kind of think of that as being like really active and then collapse, or just rest and then you're passive. But real resilience isn't just letting go, sinking down, hiding out. Sometimes it's about changing what you're doing or how you're doing it so you can draw on new resources to mobilize, to meet the moment. So when we think about saying no, a lot of people think about standing up or fighting back, and if you're Unitarian Universalist, you might be thinking side with love. we're very lucky that we know what we're siding with and not just what we're siding against. And one of the ways that we can, one of the reasons why we're going to practice different ways of saying no is because it's empowering. One of my early jobs was as an aide in a state mental hospital on Staten Island. We had fabulous training. Some of the training was in self-defense, how to get out of a chokehold, or those kinds of things. And it wasn't because they anticipated that we would find ourselves in that situation, but it was to enable us to de-escalate any situations where we might be confronted with hostility or aggression. And if you feel in your body that you're prepared to take care of yourself and that you're safe, you're in a much better position to de-escalate because you're not acting out of fear or feeling as threatened. So there's lots of ways to say no. Now, our friend Ellen Chilly-Hill and I are trained in movement analysis, and human movement actually has its own phenomenology. It's not random, and we move through these elements of space, weight, time, and flow. So those are kind of like the physics of movement, but we're human. We have feelings about it. So we have subjective attitudes across a continuum in each of those. So for instance, with weight, I'm not talking about, pounds and kilos. I'm talking about my attitude towards weight, how grounded I am to assert, like my strength, or I could experience the element of weight on the other end of strength, which would be lightness. And you can be just as assertive through lightness as you can through strength. Just walk into a Waldorf classroom where the teacher never raises their voice above a whisper, and all the children are doing what they're supposed to be doing. And then there's the other elements, for instance, time. It's not what we're measuring on the clock. It's our attitude towards time. Do we indulge as if it doesn't matter what time the service ends today? Or are we, have a sense of urgency and we want to get there and it needs to happen? With space, we can have an active attitude either of being very direct and focused, or an indirect attitude, which is not flaky. It's about really having a kind of a more global awareness, taking everything in rather than that narrow focus. So all these things are combining different combinations, and they go into sequences and phrases. There's different kinds of phrases. So we can almost look at movement process as a kind of phenomenology of change also, and how we make that. So we're going to use, when we organize these qualities, there's I'm not going to go into the whole theoretical part of it, but there's something called the action drive, when we really crystallize active attitudes towards weight, time, and space all at once. And because they're on continuums, there's like 8 different possibilities. So there is like a flick, which is light, quick, and indirect, which is versus like a dab, which is light, quick, and direct. So all these elements change over time. So we have a flick and a dab and a press and a glide and a ring and a float. So we're going to practice saying no with these different movement qualities. And that no is going to feel different, and it's going to send a different message. So I want to invite a couple hand bones up here with me. And all of you are welcome to try it where you are. But I thought it'd be fun if some of us were here and could play with it a little bit. Sharon, you look like you're ready to get on your feet. Yeah, right, thanks. Anybody else? Oh, sure, Deb, come on up. Oh, great, Haley, it's so wonderful to see you and Tina here this morning. Welcome home. You came to the right place. Okay, so let's try a no that we're all familiar with, which is a punch, which is direct, sudden, and strong. So we're going to be safe. So, and if you try this in your seat, First, I want you to be aware of your kinesphere, your movement bubble, your reach space in every direction, so you're not banging into the pew or your neighbor or somebody, your elbow or whatever, okay? So, oh, nice, Sharon. So we're going to open up our front space. Let's go for a punch in front of us here. This is, the normal, what we often think of as a no. Okay, ready? And no. We're going to try that one more time. Ready? And no. All right, and that's what we hear a lot of protests too, right? Strong no's. All right, let's try the opposite of that. So if we were light and indirect and sustained, that's a float. So now we're going to say no with the float, okay? No, I don't think so. No, we're not going to do it that way. No. Okay, that's another no, okay? All right, let's try a no with a ring. That's indirect and strong and sustained. No, you can't. All right, so you're going to take your time, you use your strength and strength, sustainment, and what am I missing? Oh, indirectness. It's very indirect. Okay, so it's like bring it around. All right, here we go. No. Let's try it again. No, not that way. Okay. All right. Good. All right. Let's try note with a dab. A little dab will do ya. No. No. Turn to somebody and tell them no. No. All right. Let's try indirect with strong and sudden. Now this one you got to look out for your space because this is called a slash. Ready? No. That is not happening. No. All right. Oh, we got some good slashers here. All right, here's another one. Now if we take out the suddenness and we add sustainment with strength and directness, we're going to have a press. Ready? We're going to push back. No. No way that's happening. Ready? No. Forget it. Okay. All right. I think you get the idea. We got lots of ways to say no. We got lots of ways to side with love, and we're going to do it together. Okay. Thank you. McKinley, you want the mic back? Okay.
Okay, so some of us may not have ever done that in a church building before, but that's how we do it here. We're going to continue this embodiment theme as we also talk about resilience. Fire and ice. Steve the penguin is my new hero, not just because he's cute and adaptive, but because he's a great metaphor. That the life cycle and the lifestyle of penguins speak to what we are going through, right? The obvious example is that the movement of penguins and their survivability happens surrounded by ice, right? But looking deeper than that, the fact that penguins have evolved into different species and different types, and that they have developed different adaptations, that some swim tens of thousands of miles to escape changing climate conditions, that the Adelie penguins, like Steve, they find that since they live in Antarctica, and it's going to be dark for a long, long time during certain parts of the year, they move with the sun, following the light. And as the ice grows out from Antarctica with the coming winter, they keep moving so that they're never completely surrounded by dark. And they move together in giant colonies, and they brave the waters and leopard seals and orca whales and all kinds of climate catastrophe to continue their highest task, continuing their community, right? Giving birth to their little babies and helping care for one another. It's beautiful. It's a great metaphor. They're stinking cute. And It's good for us to be reminded, right, that we are part of this great ecosystem of life. This is St. Bridget's Day and Imbolc in the turning of the sacred wheel. And it's good to be reminded that we are part of that great cycle, right, that we are part of the natural world. And that resilience is not just something that we humans came up with, right? Resilience is the name that we give to what we see reflected in the natural world, right? When we copy what other animals are doing, when we remember that it's within ourselves, right? It's not something that's separate and other for us. So if you were like me and you've been feeling a little down and anxious, it's completely understandable. We turn to the words of Brene Brown and the work on shame and vulnerability that she has done that reminds us that resiliency is not only a tool that we can practice and stretch and grow. It's not only a muscle that we can work out so that we get better at doing it. It's also innate to who we are, right? It's part of our humanity, is this resilience. And so everybody understands what I mean when I say resilience. What I mean is resilience is our capacity to roll with the punches, to adapt to changing environments, to go from this, when you look at your phone, to this. Side note, have you ever seen how penguins swim through the water? Resilience is our ability to waddle imperfectly on ice, physical or metaphorical, to slip and fall, to fail, to lose, to suffer, and then to find ways to either wiggle on our bellies to keep moving forward or to get back up and waddle again imperfectly. The penguins are a great metaphor, but they're also telling us something about ourselves, right? Our human bodies and who we are as a people. Brene Brown says that to embrace courage and resilience is to embrace vulnerability. That you don't survive your hardships, you learn from them. And that you don't do that alone. That the sharing of our vulnerabilities, the building of our resilience happens together, in communities, in families, in pairs. Excuse me. That to try and fail, to get back up, to try again, that's our choice. It's a choice that we make, right? It's a muscle that we learn to work out through practices like embodiment, through practices like coming together and singing, even when it's so cold outside, even when the world looks like it's covered with ice. That getting together and creating beauty and joy, that is not only a choice, that is also part of our ongoing evolution as humans. That adaptability and that resilience is part of who we are. And Brene Brown ends her books and her podcasts, which I love, with the same words each week. She tells us all about shame and vulnerability and courage. And at the end she says, I'm Brene Brown, and you are stronger than you think you are. Take that for a second. Excuse me. She says that you're stronger than you think you are, and you are stronger than you know. Okay, I'm going to have a coughing attack, so here's what we're going to do. I want you to think. Ooh. Sorry, this is why I have a mask, because my kids are doing this too. I want you to think about something that is scaring you, something you're anxious about, something you're grieving, something you're ashamed about, a loss that you feel, anything that's weighing you down. And we're going to think for a second about that. And then I'm going to pass out these small pieces of paper. And if you would like, use the pens I gave you to write on them. Write whatever it is you want to write. And then we're going to come up here in just a few moments and do a fire communion. This paper is called flash paper, and it's going to disappear. So we're going to embody this practice of resilience. We're going to embody this practice of resilience by writing what we're feeling, what we're afraid of, what we're grieving or ashamed of. And we're going to drop it into the fire, and it's going to whoosh. But it doesn't mean it never happened. And it doesn't mean it's not still real. But we're going to embody what it looks like to fall flat on our face on the ice, and then wiggle our way forward. All right? So I'm going to come around and pass out these papers. If you would, excuse me, if you would take a second and think what you're going to write. You don't have to write anything if you don't want to. Friends who are online, you can use the share function if you want everyone to know what your anxiety is. I didn't think this part through. We will just burn some flash paper for you. So if you want to write it on a piece of paper and then we'll do something else with it, I invite you to do that. Or next time you're here, we can do the flash paper ritual for you. But you do not have to share it out loud or in type with everyone who's on Zoom unless you really want to. And if you do choose to use the share function online, I will write it on a paper for you and put it in the cauldron. Okay? All right, we've never done this ritual, so this is the first time for all of us. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to give you 15 more seconds to think about what your anxiety, your fear, your loss, your grief is, what you want to put on the paper. And then I'm going to come around and hand it out. Then I'm going to start the fire up here. Nate is going to play us a little guitar music. I'm going to invite us to come forward and very prayerfully drop our flash paper into the fire to symbolize our practice of building resilience. Are there any questions here in the sanctuary? Are these instructions clear? Yes, Janie.
Is it a personal anxiety or anxiety that encompasses more than just...
Yeah, is it a personal anxiety or something that's bigger than a personal? It can be whatever you like, whatever's weighing on your heart, right? No prescriptions. And again, if you don't want to write anything, don't write anything. That's fine. All right, here we go. So I'm going to go first. I'm going to show you how we're going to do it. I'm going to share what I wrote. You do not have to share out loud if you do not want to. In fact, I encourage you not to do it right now, given our time limits. But I do encourage you, after this, find someone to share this vulnerability with, this anxiety with. That's part of how we build resilience. It's through the naming of it, and the sharing of it, and holding it together, right? The reminder that we are not alone. So I wrote, my constant anxiety is that I am not enough. That I am not enough. So I'm going to approach here and drop it into the fire. And it is very safe, but I'll show you very carefully how to do it. Come as you're willing. If you come up by the front aisle, the center aisle here, take your time, drop it into the fire, and we'll hold it together. May we be as resilient. May we be together. May we be like penguins as we learn to slip and slide and waddle together on this great journey, chasing the light. I'm going to invite our choir forward who's going to sing an offering to ground us in the space of what it means to be resilient. And we're going to kind of learn the song, right, Nate? Beautiful.
So this is a song that comes from a project called the Social Justice Choir Project. And it's a collection of songs that are intended to be used in the work of justice and protest, things like that. So I wanted to bring this to us as a way of teaching the choir, teaching all of us, having a song that we can add to our repertoire. So whether it's in here or out in the streets, you have something that you can sing and circle around. So we're going to sing the first, it's just one verse, but we're going to sing it through once. The words are up on the screen. I did put a couple of sheets around, so you might see it next to you if reading feels more comfortable to you, reading sheet music. We'll sing it through once, and then we're going to invite you to join in. We'll sing it through several times. The choir is going to add on a couple of layers, a harmony part that you'll hear. Just stay strong on that melody, or if you want to jump to a harmony part with the choir, you're more than welcome. When you see this, we're going to go to the ending, and the ending is just resilience, resilience, resilience. The second time you see this signal, it means we're going to stop. All right? So join in. It's going to be great.
Thank you, choir. Thank you, Kathy. Thank you to Mike Foy, who's doing our AV behind, to Louise, who has volunteered to be with our kids today, and to you all for taking a risk and coming out quite physically, literally, with how it is to travel around the city right now, and for taking the emotional risk to be here and try something a little bit different. We're getting ready to extinguish our chalice here in the sanctuary with the joys and sorrows and the fears and anxieties of our friends online who have shared. Thank you for being with us. We have a few announcements that we'll highlight here in a moment after we sing. I want to give Nate a chance to share about the upcoming concert. The rest of our announcements you can find in our newsletter, on our website, and through our various social media pages that we invite you to follow if you're new here. The words to extinguish our chalice are from the Reverend Elizabeth Sell Jones. I invite you to read them aloud with me here in the sanctuary, and we'll extinguish our chalice. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we rise together So when we gather here every week, we do so imperfectly. We know this. But it's nice to be reminded that it's okay to waddle a little bit. It's okay to be wiggly and jiggly and not always know what you're doing. What matters is that we keep trying, we keep growing, and we keep learning, and build our resiliency together. With that in mind, I invite you to rise in body or in spirit as we sing Fire of Commitment, our closing hymn. It's number 1028 in the teal hymnal. I invite you to embody this message into our bones and out our souls so that we might shine out. Hymn number 1028, Fire of Commitment. Amen. Friends, may we go in peace to make our courageous choice. Sometimes to say no, sometimes to say no, sometimes to say yes, to being together, to making this space into one of courage where the fire of commitment leads us on. May we go to serve, to love, to melt ice, whatever that means for you. And to do so reminded that we can always come back here, return and return again, to find this place of love. May it be so, beloveds. Amen? Amen. Let us go forth in peace. Thank you, friends. Oh, before we go, sorry. Go ahead and sit down. Because we have a few things that are very special that we want to make room for. Nate Berge, come on up.
Hello, everyone. As you hopefully know by now, but I wanted to go over it again. Next Friday, this coming Friday, on February 6th, there's going to be a concert at the First Unitarian Church of Philadelphia honoring the life and work of Joseph Priestley, who you probably know is integral to the Unitarian faith and practice here in Philadelphia. So we'll be honoring him with the Foray Requiem. It will be sung by a mass choir of nearly 100 voices. There will be an orchestra, an organ, expected to be a really, really incredible event. If anyone was part of the Misa Gaia that Jane Holting and I put together back in 2019 or 2018, I think it was, it'll have some remnants of that in terms of the feel. So the details are, it's the Foray Requiem, February 6th at 7:30 is when music starts at the First Unitarian Church of Philadelphia. The address is 2125 Chestnut Street. I did post some information at the back and down in coffee hour. Feel free to take a picture with your phone. We'll make sure it's in the email announcements as well that are coming out this week. And there are 5 churches involved. It's First Unitarian Church of Philadelphia, Mainline Unitarian Church, Unitarian Society of Germantown, Unitarian Universalist Church of Cherry Hill, and Unitarian Universalist of Mount Airy. So our choir will be there. The first part of the concert will be a couple of features from the different groups, so you'll get to kind of see and hear what's going on across the Unitarian churches across the region. And then the second part will be the full Foray Requiem in its entirety. There is a suggested donation if you're able. No one was turned away for lack of funds. It's simply an opportunity to be able to help us pay for the cost of the concert, and the funds will be split with the new sanctuary movement that works closely with First Unitarian. So thank you, everybody. If you have any questions, I'll be around for a few minutes. There is information. I hope to see many of you there, and have a great week. Stay warm. Thanks for coming.
All right, so if anyone needs help with a ride to the First Unitarian concert at First Unitarian on Friday, please reach out and let us know. Similarly, if anyone is wanting to go to the Power Assembly today and needs a ride, please let me know. A few of us are driving down there, or if the buses are running, we're going to do that. Thus ends the travel logistics. Anything else pressing that anyone wants to share while we're here? Beautiful. I invite you downstairs for fellowship and coffee downstairs if this is your first time. If not, we will see you next time, friends. Online friends, it's good to see you. Thank you for being together. Let us now go forth in peace.